StrayAllDay.com.
Baldwin, StrayAllDay.com, WorkOnYourGame.com. Today's topic is, daily discipline topic is selling yourself. Now, selling yourself is a concept that is as old as sales are, period, because people have been selling all types of things forever. And this concept of selling yourself has become even more prominent and even more important in the world that we live in today, because there are so many people jumping into the creator slash influencer slash entrepreneur space simply by selling yourself and your personality first, and then the products and services may come second. It may be just you that you're selling the entire time. And there are people who build their entire business ecosystem around that, just selling themselves as you as a person. And again, this is not new, but it's so much easier to build a business just around selling yourself now than it used to be, simply because everybody has their own broadcasting station. Whereas 30 years ago, if you wanted to sell yourself as the product, you had to get a book publishing deal or a TV show contract offer, or you had to get a radio show. And if you didn't get one of those, then you really couldn't sell yourself as just yourself as a product. You had to come up with a product, and then you had to figure out how to sell that. Nowadays, you don't need to get to the radio. You can start a podcast. You don't need to get to TV. You can get on YouTube. You don't need to get to book publishing. You can self-publish. So you can do all these things by yourself from the comfort of your own home, whatever, without ever interacting with a live human being ever. So this ability to sell yourself makes it easier and easier and easier for you to get yourself seen, heard, and known, and to create opportunities for yourself, which you can then expand on and or leverage towards other opportunities. So this whole concept of selling yourself, you need to understand what it is, why it is, and how it works. I'm going to give it to you briefly here. I go deeper into every topic you hear me talk about in these daily discipline videos. I go deeper into these in my show called Work on Your Game, which comes out every single day on your favorite audio platforms. Put it out on YouTube as well, but the audio episodes come out before the video episodes. So when it comes to selling yourself, this is simply the concept of making sure people understand who you are, what your unique angle is. In other words, why should they pay attention or pay money to you as opposed to all the other options that they have out there? And everybody has other options. One of their options is to do nothing at all. So why should they give their money to you as opposed to every other choice they have of what they could do or not do? And what are they going to get from you that they're not going to get somewhere else? Like, you need to make all of these things clear. And you got to be able to get people's attention, let them know what it is that you're bringing to the table, why they should do it as opposed to all the other choices they have, and then make it easy for them to actually do the thing that you want them to do, whatever your call to action, as we call it. Whatever it is, you got to make it simple. You want them to get on your email list, you want them to buy your product, you want them to subscribe to your YouTube, you want them to follow you on TikTok. Whatever it is that you want people to do, you got to be very clear on that and make it easy for them to take the action that you want them to take. Anytime there's ambiguity here or there's friction in this process, it makes it harder to sell yourself. And you got to understand that there are other people trying to sell themselves too, and you got to figure out what differentiates you and what makes you different from everyone else. Because the first place I ever heard this concept of selling yourself is actually from one of my managers, one of my bosses, when I was working like all these retail jobs that I had before I started playing pro ball. I worked a lot of different jobs. Started working when I was in my mid-teens. And this woman, she had all these jobs in retail management, which was impressive to me at the time, because I had always tried to get jobs in retail, and it was hard to get a call back for a job interview. But she had a bunch of jobs and been a manager at a bunch of places. So I just wondered how she was able to be so successful at landing the interview, let alone doing so well in the interview that she was getting hired. And she said, well, Dre, I just go sell myself. I get the interview, and in the interview, I sell myself, and that's how I get the job. And she was the first person I heard talk about that, and I've always kept that in mind. So when I wanted to go play pro ball coming out of a Division III college, I knew I was going to have to sell myself, because just on talent and resume alone, I did not have enough that was going to separate me from the other 10,000 players who were all trying to get a handful of jobs that were available in pro ball at the time. So I knew if I learned how to sell myself, that would help me get further than just playing in skill by itself. It's not that I didn't have skill, but once people have skill, what would differentiate player 1 from player 85? Really not much. The thing that differentiated me, and the reason I was able to have a career, is because of my ability to sell myself, not just on game alone. I wish it had been on game alone, but that wasn't enough. I was going to have to sell myself. And getting into the entrepreneurial space, getting into the thought leadership space, the influencer space, the book writing space, all of these things, there's a bunch of people trying to get the same thing you're trying to get, and everybody is not going to get it. So what separates you is your ability to sell yourself. Who are you? What do you bring to the table? What makes you different from everybody else? And why should somebody go with you? And then how do they do it? All of that's part of your selling yourself, part of selling yourself, the process. So that if you want to learn more about how to do that, I'll tell you how in one moment. First of all, let me remind you, I send out a daily motivation text every day, guaranteed to have you focused, sharp, and on point. Monday motivation every week. Text me free of charge to join my text community. My number is 305-384-6894. Numbers down below in the description. Secondly, you want to learn how to sell yourself, your ideas, your products, or services, and turn your thoughts into money. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. That's the only place that I do any coaching, only place I work with anyone directly. That's the place where we can get started. You can schedule a call with me or somebody on my team. You got an option to work with me personally. You could also join some of my group mastermind programs. Again, that's workonyourgameuniversity.com. Link down below in the description. Work on your game. Dre all